My name is Edward Eskind. I was born on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1928.
My name is Elaine Joyce Morris Eskind, and I was born in 1929.
Who's been the most important person in your life?
My husband. The happiest moment, I guess, is when I got married, because I knew my life was going to be wonderful, and it has been.
When Elaine said yes, when our 3 children were born, when our 8 grandchildren were born, when our 6 great-grandchildren were born. Lots of family affairs.
We've just had a great life together, and he's always there for me. Whenever I have a problem, he always helps me to answer it and work it out. And whenever I fall, he picks me up.
Who do you think has had the most impact on your life and why?
Probably my father, Manuel Eskind. He was a beautiful man, a smart man, and he came over some adversities and made a tremendous success. He was in business in the middle of the Depression. He had a chain of department stores, and he was doing business with one of the banks in town that lent him money, and the bank went broke. It made the department stores close up, and that's when he went into the wholesale wine and liquor business.
Happy days are here again.
Because the state of Tennessee just voted to go wet, and it was one of those things that he could get into. He was very, very friendly, very outgoing, very smart. People had problems, they would come to him. He was president of the West End Synagogue for 12 years. He was responsible for the synagogue moving from Gay Street to West End Avenue. And he was responsible for raising the money to build the synagogue. As a matter of fact, Elaine and I got married was the first activity in the new synagogue. He was modern in his religion. He participated in everything, but he wasn't a strict Orthodox Jew. His father was an immigrant from Russia, came to New York and started peddling goods. He worked his way south and ended up in Nashville. So he opened up what they called a dry goods store, a clothing store, to sell the other peddlers who came through. The name of it was J. Eskind and Son. His sons started the department stores, which was named Liebeck's in Nashville. The owner of the building that they rented was named Liebeck on 6th and Church Street in Nashville. It was a full department store. Go there a lot, but particularly after Temple on Saturday, we would go there and have lunch. And then they opened up other places, other department stores in Birmingham and Louisville. His father was president of the synagogue, and my other grandfather was president of the synagogue. Father was born in 1899, my mother was born in 1900, and they spent their entire lives here. My mother died young, she was 63 years old, died of breast cancer. My father died when he was 88 years old. Mother's father, he was from Russia also. Sam Levy, who was my mother's father, had a Saturday afternoon, he listened to the Metropolitan Opera on the radio, loud. And Saturday night he played pinochle with his crowd. Jewish family came to Nashville. They would come to see him to begin with. And he gave them know-how and lent them money to get started. Opened up a shoe store to sell the peddlers. His was on the corner of 3rd Avenue and next to the courthouse. And J. Eskind was on 2nd Avenue in the courthouse. My grandmother was married to a man named Cohen when she came to Nashville. And they had 3 children. And he died, and she and Sam Levy married. Cohen had 4 children, so she had 7 children. And all of them lived in Nashville. I was very close to my aunts and uncles. My mother was national vice president of the Council of Jewish Women, so she did a lot of work on that. She was mentally very strong. Physically, she was not a strong lady. Had an older brother, Bobby, 3 years older than I, and a younger sister, Ann, 6 years younger. Ann's just like her.
Well, I'd say Ann's pretty strong-willed, yeah?
Yes, very. They're about the same size, and they walk the same, and their opinions are the same. I talk to her a couple of times a month and see her, I guess, a couple of times a year. My brother and I were very close. My sister, of course, 6 years younger. My brother passed away in 1991, and my sister's still living in New York City. When he was a senior in high school, he developed ulcerative colitis, which was Crohn's disease, and they had no answer to it. He was operated on 12 times and finally had no intestines left. Growing up, he was an athlete, he was smart, he had a lot of friends. She spent most of her time taking care of him.
How were you guys different?
Be easier to say how we were similar. Lived at 226 Deer Park Circle, and I lived there till we got married. I wasn't mischievous, but I just was very strong in my opinions, and what I thought was right is what I tried to do. Very stubborn. I don't know what I was doing one day. I did something wrong when I was young. We had a 2-story house. My mother said to sit on that step until you say you're sorry. Well, I sat there and I sat there, and she comes back, say you're sorry. I said, I not say I'm sorry. Well, I sat there from breakfast to dinner when my father came home. Finally, he said, get up. But I said, I'm not, I can hear myself saying it now. I'll not say I'm sorry. Nashville was a wonderful place to grow up. We'd wake up in the morning, if we had nothing to do, we'd go outside. We'd come home for dinner.
I lived on Wilson Boulevard. We could leave the doors open in our homes and never have any trouble. Nobody would ever break in.
When it got dark, you came home. I loved everything about school. I had a lot of friends and had no problems with my schoolmates. I won every math contest or whatever they have in school all the way through college.
December 7th, a date which will live in infamy.
I remember Pearl Harbor very well. I was, I guess, 13. A lot of people a little bit older than I went to the war and fought. And there were a few from Nashville that were killed in the Second World War. 6 years later, they had the Korean War. And I joined the National Guard. And we got married and we had children. And I didn't serve just in the National Guard, and it was never called to fight in the war. But I did win the National Guard Golf Championship. I used to play some tennis, mainly golf. Won a lot of club championships and had 7 hole-in-ones. I played football in Hillsborough and played golf at Hillsborough. For relaxation, for enjoyment, for exercise, made many friends on the golf course, and still enjoy playing and enjoy teaching the family how to play. I think I did it on my own, really. I played golf a few times with my father, but not regularly. We were members of the Woodmont Country Club, and I'd just go there and play golf. And at a young age, I played with Elaine some. My father played golf twice a week. He was a fair golfer. My mother played golf every now and then. She was Phi Beta Kappa at Vanderbilt University. And Elaine's father was an excellent golfer and loved to teach people how to play.
Oh, that's my mother and father. He'd always take me out the front yard to swing a golf club. So he really taught me how to play golf. Daddy was in the furniture business. He had a furniture store on 4th and Broad, and I don't know, we had one in Old Hickory, and had them all over the city. People would come in his store and need furniture, and he would sell it to them and tell them they didn't have any money. He said, well, pay me when you get some money. And they would shake hands, and they'd always come back and pay him. My father was a Democrat, and he used to say, whenever the Democrats are in Washington, business is good, but every time the Republicans come in, it's trouble. And that's what he used to say over and over. So he always voted Democratic. The motto of his was the working man's friend. He went to military school in Culver. That was in Lebanon. He did football, basketball, track. He won a trophy for being the best all-around athlete in the school. My grandfather on my father's side was from Poland, and my grandmother was from Hungary. Grandma Jenny had a daughter that died from pneumonia when she was a little girl, and then he had a brother named Marvin. And my mother had a brother named Alvin, and they had a son and 2 daughters. My mother had 2 brothers and 1 sister. The oldest sister was named Evelyn Meyer, and the brother was Sylvan Meyer and Alvin Meyer. And we were closest to Sylvan Meyer. He was always remembered our birthdays, and he was a single man up to about, I think, 45 or 50. And then he married Marie, and they had 2 children. On my mother's side, my grandmother was born in Nashville, and my grandfather was from Germany. And he was president of the temple today. His picture's in the temple. He was Adolf Meyer, and he spoke 7 languages. But Mother talked about him a lot. He used to collect National Geographic books. And when he died, Mother gave them to Joel. Joel kind of was getting in trouble a lot. He went to MBA. He put a string around a tin can and brought it to class and pulled it into the class. I don't know why he did something like that. But then he went to Castle Heights, where my father went, and he learned to fly an airplane, and he was a real good swimmer and diver. Whatever my mother told me to do, I did. My sister, she was, I don't know, Mother would tell her to wear a pink blouse and she would get a green blouse. I'm 4 years younger than Joel, and Elise is 8 years younger than I am. I didn't like school very much. I really didn't. I went because I had to, but I really didn't like it. So I went all the way through to the 12th grade and then to college 1 year. As far as history, Elaine's a better golfer. I had won the city championship that year. I just had more fun on the weekends. Socially, I was more a follower. I just went along with whatever was happening. Mother taught me when I was a little girl. I knitted. I liked to knit. She could paint. Mother was wonderful at painting. We have some of her pictures. She was just busy all the time. Mother was. She played mahjong, and she was taking care of the three of us and planning dinners. When they moved to Palm Springs, California, she started doing sculpting. That's pretty much how I started. I called and asked her what could I do. I was kind of bored with not having anything to do. So she said, why don't you take a sculpture class? So I went to Peabody and took a class and really enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. So for about 20 years I took sculpture classes. Mother started dating Daddy. You talked about that whistle. And when he was at Castle Heights in Lebanon, and when she would go up there to meet him, she would whistle and he would come out, and that was her whistle. They all went to Hume Fogg, and they were both at Hume Fogg, and they decided, Daddy had a scholarship to Vanderbilt, but they decided to get married, so they eloped. And they went to California and they got married, and their parents had a fit. So when they got back, they wanted them to get married by a rabbi. So they remarried. And everybody said it wouldn't last. And how long did it last? 72 years. They were just young and they were in love and they wanted to get married, so they did. Mother sometimes lit the candles on Friday night, but not often. I went to Sunday school, all through Sunday school. I don't remember too much religion. Seems like we used to go sometimes on Friday nights. I don't know why, but I did. And the holidays, that was when the temple was downtown. I used to hide my Sunday school books. I didn't want them to see it at school.
The main anti-Semitism was with Belmead Country Club, and it went on for years and years. They wouldn't allow Jews to join the club, and at one point they wouldn't allow Jews to even use the club as guests.
Well, when I played in the golf tournaments, there was discrimination. We had I don't know if it was a Southern or, it must have been a Southern golf tournament that was at Belmead, and it was real hot. And they told the people that came to play in the tournament they couldn't go in the swimming pool. I don't know why. I don't know what they thought would happen, but it was terrible. I hope that group has died away.
I never really felt anti-Semitism. I went to Hillsborough High School, and I think there were 6 Jews in the entire school, and I was elected vice president of the student body. And I still, to this day, don't know how that happened. There never were a whole lot of Jews in Nashville at the time, that's right. They had the YMHA, they called it, Young Men's Hebrew Association. We went there for dances, for dance lessons, to shoot pool, to play basketball, and for social events. But I think it's very good that there's more intermingling today in the different things. The business has grown tremendously, and other parts of the things have expanded. When he first started, you could only sell the liquor stores. There was no liquor by the drink, there were no bars, no restaurants. And then later on, that became available. And now we got sales in grocery stores, bars opening everywhere, plus expanded into Chattanooga and Knoxville.
He tells me liquor's for selling, not for drinking.
I just didn't like it. Neither of us ever smoked, neither of us ever drank, really. We both exercised a lot, but we just did it. We weren't conscious of not doing it. When I graduated from school, television was just coming out in Nashville in 1950. And we went into the wholesale business of radios and television. And Manuel had one of at our house on Deer Park Circle. We had probably the first television set in the county. He built a steel tower in the backyard and put an antenna on it to get signals from Louisville before Channel 4 came about. And then in September of '50, they had a big opening, and that's when we started selling television sets.
Used IBM card readers.
In 1965, really, the company was using punch cards for a computer. And I didn't think that was working too well, and I talked to the industry about developing a system, and they said they were going to do it. That's the WSWA, Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of America. And I told them I'd be glad to work with them. We signed the first contract with them. Nothing happened. 2 years later, nothing happened. That's when I decided to go into the computer business. So we started out with a computer company, not only to do work for Capital Distributing Company, Manuel's firm, but for other wholesalers across the country. Well, they were doing payroll, and their method of communications was sending a truck to your office, picking up your papers, taking them back to a computer center, processing them, printing the checks, putting them in the van, and sending them back to the office. They saw what we were doing online over the telephone lines, and they bought our company. But the only reason they bought it was for the communications. They didn't care about the business applications. I knew what programs I wanted going in and what I want them to look like coming out. And I had programmers doing the programming of them. And that's what I still do today.
What are you proudest of?
Raising a family, having a business, and doing some extracurricular activities such as being president of the Jewish Community Center, being president of the Metropolitan Country Club Golf Association, being vice president of the Woodmont Country Club, and recently being officers at Boca West Country Club.
I really wanted to be a dancer, but I never got to be that, which was all right, because was better to have the 3 children and take care of them. Hey, I took ballet for years and years. So I had lots of friends that took ballet with me. I still see them today, most of them. Did an ad for Gus Mayer. But I studied dancing in Chicago with a teacher named Edna McRae, and also in California. I studied dancing. And then I got married. That messed up all my dancing training. But that's the way it went.
Our fathers played golf together, and our families were very close. So we met many, many years. When we were 14 and 13, our parents sent us to a golf camp.
In Connecticut.
We went in Connecticut. And I had an aunt that lived in New York City. We spent the night there one night. And after dinner, she says, why don't y'all go to Radio City, to the movie? And I said, I don't want to go there. She says, why don't you want to go there? I said, because I don't like her. She says, you better like her because you'll probably end up marrying her.
We were 14.
Summer between my junior and senior year, I played on the Hillsborough football team. We had a game against NBA Friday night. I asked her if she would like to go to the game with me. So Jimmy Small, our friend, had a date, and he picked up Elaine, and we met after the game, and that was our first date. I guess 17 and 16.
I went away to college, to the University of Miami, and dated lots of different boys. And we used to write to each other. And I think I decided I liked him better than the boys that I was dating at college. He took me to his house to pick out a ring. They had 2 or 3 rings for me to choose which one I wanted. So I chose a ring, and we decided to get married.
And I went to her father. He and her mother were in the bedroom. I said, I would like permission to marry your daughter. He says, what took you so long?
Daddy told him that. It was quite funny.
When she came back from college that year, we decided to make a go of it. The wedding was at West End Synagogue on West End, and the reception was at Woodmont Country Club.
But we got married at the synagogue because Edward's father was president. And on the date of the wedding, they hadn't finished all the walls. So we put gardenias and green paper all around the entire synagogue. And it was like a garden when you went in. It was so beautiful. In Atlantic City, we were so tired from our wedding, we fell asleep on the sand. And the man that cleans the beach woke us up. It was late at night. And we were so sunburned. We'd just gotten red with sunburn.
We had a very, very big wedding. And you stood in line
500 people.
You stood in line to accept their congratulations. And we didn't get anything to eat. Everybody was leaving by the time the line ended. And we were just tired.
Marlene was born when I was 22. It was nice having them spaced out because each one was raised like an only child. So it was very nice for them and us too.
We were out of town. We came back to town, drove up toward the driveway. There were people in line from the garage all the way out to the street.
Holding towels and in bathing suits.
We didn't know what was going on.
Kids from school.
We park the car and we walk up. Lonnie's built a think tank with wood and a lining on it,
That was amazing.
with salt water and with heat and a light in there and a lid on it, where you'd go in there and float and think. And they were lined up to do it.
What I've learned is to don't tell them what to do, let them do whatever they want to do and say that's good.
What's happened when you've tried to tell them what to do?
They don't do it, so I don't try to tell them anymore.
Well, there was a time Marlene's family was moving into their house and it wasn't ready.
That was
They moved into our house and they were going to stay a month or two. They ended up 5 or 6 months. And during that time, they set the house on fire.
right.
Ryan broke his leg. Their dog ate our dog and killed our dog.
It was awful.
And there was something else,
Chicken pox.
chicken pox.
Who caught chicken pox?
Ryan, I think.
me, we
Both got chicken pox. But it was interesting.
Now, what are you proudest of about your life?
Probably my 3 children. My 3 children. And seeing them progress and plan their lives and their children. That's about the best thing that could happen. We're very lucky. People tell us how lucky we are.
Having a family that's a wonderful family all the way down, who get along with each other, and all of them successful in their own way. Everything they do surprises me. I wonder how they could do some of those things that they end up doing. And that's all the way down the line. I don't want them to be similar to me. I want them to be their own. Got doctors. We got lawyers. Got lots of lawyers. Got business people. Every one of them is successful with what they do. Luck, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of preparation and
Understanding.
understanding.
That's it.
How do you use it now?
I try to call Edward sometimes, but he doesn't hear me, so I can't whistle loud enough to make him hear me.
From the first day, I just knew if she would have me, I'd like to marry her. And we've been together 68 years since. When you ask a question, you know what the answer's going to be. We've golfed together for probably 72, 73 years. While we were dating, we played in tournaments together. Well, the longer you live together, the more you know about each other.
Do you still learn new
I'm sure. Yeah. And things change. As Elaine said, we used to like ice cream. We don't eat so much anymore.
Because you're not supposed to.
Just being with each other.
The security of having each other and knowing that one will help the other if they need help.
Got 3 kids, 8 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren.
All from the 2 of us.
Yeah.